Hello, welcome to Mini Math Lessons with Karen. Today I am using the fx115ES2 calculator. So this is the emulator that I'm using. And I wanted to just focus on two different functionalities that relate to the two activities that I'm kind of reviewing today. There's a lot more that you can do with this calculator, and I will definitely be coming back and doing some how-tos with it. But this is a scientific calculator. It has a lot of power, and those of you familiar with Casio calculators will notice the layout is virtually identical to all the other definitely scientific calculators. So you know where to find the buttons and remember, so each button here does what you see, right? So this toggles between standard and decimal, but then if you have this yellow, the shift will do all the functions up above. So I'm going to be focusing today on some on the solve, like how can that help you solve what you are doing, verify that you have an answer. And then I'm also going to be going into some of the statistical capabilities. Just a quick little demo of some of the statistics. So this calculator has a lot of power. You can look down here and see that it can do matrices, vectors, verify. We're going to be going into the verify. Statistical distributions, and we're going to be doing a little bit of that. So here's this calculator, and just so you know where to look, if I go to mode, you can see the different things that it does. So computation, statistics, equations, so you can enter equations, tables, so you can do, table values, solving, evaluating, matrices, vectors. And then if I arrow down a little bit more, that's what this little arrow up here is telling me. I have inequalities, verify, which is what we're going to go into in distribution. So the two things I'm just going to briefly show today are verifying and distributions. So before I get into that, let me just talk about the two activities that I'm sharing. These are free. They're on the Casio education website under free activities. I've chosen just two because I liked the two things I wanted to demonstrate today. So here's the first one called Backtracking. It's about solving equations and inequalities. What I like about these is it has the objectives, it has kind of the standards where it's coming from, Common Core. And if you scroll down, it has it's sort of it's not just do this, it's think about this, have some fun, explore. So they're using the calculator in this case to kind of find some patterns and discoveries. And then it keeps going. There's some practice, and notice that they're not supposed to use their pencil, they're supposed to try to just figure it out on their own. What are the patterns? What do we notice? Here they can use any way to show their roots, and then they're going to verify them. So that's sort of how the calculator is being used in this case. Not to do the work, but to verify once they have that solution, does the solution actually solve the problem? And so this is the activity. There's some extensions in here. And then the nice thing is that the solutions are provided, which is really nice. And so I want to kind of talk about this, which is the verification. So students have shown their work. So this is just an example of what students might have done to solve this problem. And then they can verify that that solution is true or not. Is that an actual solution for this equation, right? So how does this work? Well, so students have done their work. They got their equation. They've done all their steps, inverse operations. They've figured it out, and they've come up with this solution of 2. So then to verify, basically check their answer, they can use the calculator to do that. So let's go back to how I did this. So let's get out of mode. Here I am on the calculator. If I want to verify, I'm going to hit my mode, and I'm going to arrow down and choose number 2. So number 2 says, okay, and it's going to give me back, yes, it's true, or it's false. So I'm basically going to go take my solution as one side of the equation, so 2. And then up here, you'll see this kind of in red equal sign. I don't want to use this equal sign because that's basically executing a function or a calculation or something. So I want to use this one. So I'm going to use alpha because it's in pink, and then calc, and that gets that 2 in there. And then I enter in the equation. And here's where you can see the nice features of the Casio with the standard notation. I want to enter 1/2, so I can hit the template here for fraction, and then 1/2. And then I'm going to put parentheses, and then I want another fraction again. So this time I'm going to hit it up here, and we want 2 times, and to get the x, that's this right here, the alpha again, x plus 4 minus 6. So you're just entering the original equation, basically. So on one side is your solution, and on the other side is your original equation, right? So we're going to put a 2 here, and then we are going to hit subtract, and here's that x again. So I want the alpha x, and then plus 3, and then close my parentheses. Okay, so now when I hit equals or execute or enter, it's going to determine if that solution 2 actually solves that equation on the other side. So when I hit this, if it were false, it would tell me no, that is not a solution, or true, in this case, it is a solution. So this is a nice way for students to quickly, verify their solutions. If they think something is a solution, they just put their solution in on one side, and on the other they put the original equation, and the calculator will allow you to tell them. So again, that's mode, arrow down, choose verify, and then you enter solution on one side and equation on the other. And it doesn't matter which side you put, either one. So that's one option. So let's get out of this. Let's clear everything. We want to kind of be out. Let's go back to well, no, we'll stay right here. So that was the first activity. And so notice solutions are there, possible solutions. So now let me look at the second activity that I'm sharing, that I'm kind of show you one thing. So they're going to be talking about data and representations and plots. And so again, you've got your standards and your learning objectives, and then the questions. So the students are, notice it's not asking them to use the calculator. It's construct and interpret plots and bivariate data and measurement. So they are going to be making, here's this spinner. They're going to be using some real world examples. They're going to make their own box and whisker plots. There's tables here for the information with the data. And then we come down into talking about mean and data and what is it all, what is the meaning of that in the context of these situations. So there's a lot of different displays, and so the calculator at this point might be used to be calculating the mean very quickly, but really it's about interpreting the data and making sense of it and using plots. So none of this is with the calculator. The calculator is just a tool there to support it. What I wanted to get into was this last part. So there's some practice questions here. Is this where we can use the distribution? So it's giving you the mean, the standard deviation, and what's the probability. So we're looking at probability of a score being at 610, at 710, between 410 and 710. And so SAT, the high score is 800, so that would be our upper bound. So I wanted to show you how to do normal cumulative distribution. So here I am again. Remember mode. We were in the last one. I'm going to use the arrow down. I want distribution here. So when I hit 3, this time I have my options here, and notice there's this little arrow again. There's even more. So it does quite a bit for those of my statistics folks, but we're going to use number 2. And so the first thing it asks is what's your lower bound? And so our lower bound is 610, right? So 610. And then when I hit equal or enter, it says, okay, what's your upper bound? So the upper bound's the high score. And then what's your standard deviation? And that was given to us. Standard deviation was 100. And then what's your mean? And our mean was 510. So we basically are entering values in, and it's going to give us that probability right there. So then if you had, for the example C, between 410 and 710, we could go back to that. So let's go to mode, do it again, and choose number 2. So now our lower this time is 410, right? And our upper is 710. Our standard deviation is still 100, and our mean is still 510. And so notice we have a much higher probability of scoring between 410 and 710. So it's kind of amazing what a little powerful calculator can do. It does a lot, and we are going to have some more how-tos and stuff on the YouTube, but this one's specifically related to these 2 activities that I was sharing. So have fun.